myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say.
Good early evening. Welcome along to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It is the three amigos, the perfect way to kickstart your Bladen Races and Sam Fender weekend this weekend. And don't forget Pink down at the home of the unwashed. It's a good evening to George, good evening to Mitch, and a good evening to Steve Hasty. Good evening, lads.
Evening, Steve.
Good to see you. And as always,
happy 9th of June.
Happy 9th of June. Plenty to talk to you all about tonight. Where do we start on this 90-minute show tonight? Well, let's start with the unveiling of the new strip. Probably the worst kept secret in football in terms of strip releases. The leak this week proven to be correct. And a rather nifty looking number, George, with the new sponsor confirmed and the club going out with a statement today on the platform, but also an email that was sent out to all Newcastle United season ticket holders and members, basically saying that Newcastle United is delighted to announce a new multi-year front of shirt partnership with Sela, a pioneering destination and experience organisation. After achieving a fourth place finish in the 2022-2023 Premier League season, Newcastle United will proudly showcase Sela at front and centre of its iconic shirts as the club embarks upon a long-awaited return to the UEFA Champions League in 23-24 campaign. The agreement between the two rapidly growing organisations will see them uniting at an exciting stage in their respective journeys, with Sela the driving force behind a wide range of spectacular events, iconic destinations and attractions in the Middle East, becoming Newcastle United's front of shirt partner. So there we go. It's announced now, George. What's your thoughts on the arrival of Sela as the new front of shirt partner and the new strip?
Well, after listening to the chief executive or whoever it is making his statement today, it couldn't be better, could it? He's done his homework and saying all the right things, and I think it's just fantastic. The money's coming in is great, but it's a good design. They've obviously thought about it, and it's a shirt certainly I think is brilliant. It's the throwback to the V-necks, not a bad idea, and the little lines around the cuffs of the sleeves, absolutely great. It looks fantastic for me. And as I say, they're all saying the right things for Newcastle and for Newcastle fans. And look forward to seeing the lads going out in it next season. And can't wait. And well, I like it so much, I don't mind admitting that if I get close enough to shop, I might even buy one, but we'll see. But I do like it. It's a good one. And as I said, all saying nice, right things for me at this stage of the season, at this stage of our development, and the way that the CEO was praising how the link with the club would go with them and all the rest of it. No, I think it's super, Steve. That's all I can say. I think it's a fantastic thing, and I think that the launch was good as well.
Bit of a throwback to the 1980s as well, with the collars and cuffs, George. The old shirt worn by Gaza.
Absolutely, and I like that. I think that was a shirt that I liked. Actually, it goes even further back than that for me, because if you go back to the Charlie Mitten shirts that I wore, they had a V-neck as well. So it's that's a style I like particularly, and I have a feeling that at least from my feeling, is that the players will like it. I don't think players all particularly like faffing about with collars and things like that. The V-necks just sits nicely when you're playing and doesn't get in the way. And so I think that side of it's a good positive move, and a one that people who've been around a while will recognise and admire, I think.
I think another thing, Mitch, is Darren Eales, in his statement that was issued with this press release, said, we're delighted to welcome Sealer as our new front of shirt partner. The partnership follows a highly competitive commercial process, and we believe we found the perfect front of shirt partner to support us in reaching our objectives on and off the pitch. We team up at an exciting time in the history of both organisations, given both share an ambitious vision to expand their brands globally. Fan engagement is central to what we do at Newcastle United, and in Sealer, we are partnering with an organisation with shared interests that's delivered incredible events and experiences to millions of people over many years. This is the interesting bit. Closer to home, we will work closely on the design and operation of a new fan zone area at St James's Park, taking inspiration from Sealer's incredible properties elsewhere. So a fan zone, something we've talked about on the show, is now certainly within Newcastle United's sights, and let's see how that develops, Mitch. Exciting.
And if it's anything like the Sealer development that Steve and I have been in, which is when we were crossing Riyadh, Stu took us to the Riyadh Boulevard development, which is one of Sealer's. And if it's anything like that, it'll be spectacular. If you have a dig through my Twitter from when we were crossing Riyadh, you'll see me put some video dancing fountains and various things like that from an area in Riyadh known as the Boulevard, where there's a fun fair and there's a shopping area and there's attractions associated there with it. In fact, they've actually had a football area where either side of the football area, on one side was a Al Hilal cafe, and on the other side was a Al Nassr cafe, which is the team that Ronaldo's gone to. And so there's no doubt they know how to do sports venues, they know how to do attractions. They do attractions all over the Middle East, not just in Saudi now. They're signing deals outside of Saudi. And I think if you look at how we wish to grow and how we need to grow, it does make sense in terms of a partnership. There's no doubt about that. I think it's evident now that the leak about who would won the battle for the front of the shirt eventually was quite clearly leaked by the Premier League to cause a little bit of mischief and cause a little bit of chit-chat. But it obviously had already been passed by then. And so it shows, again, how whilst we can still play by the rules, we'll still get kicked up the ass by certain people, even when we do play by the rules. And so I think the club are going to be developing a thick skin quite quickly, and I think so should we as a fan base as well. Damn the torpedoes, will go on and do it our way. Thank you very much.
And we've mentioned this before on a previous show this week, but now it's confirmed. The strip is out there, Mitch. What's your marks out of 10 for this one? Because you are a bit of a strip connoisseur, mate.
I'm on an 8.5 at the minute. I want to see it in the flesh, but I'm on an 8.5. And say this quietly: I don't mind the white socks at all.
Okay, now we go.
They're just socks. They're not going to be the decider whether we win a trophy or not. They're not going to be the decider of whether we're successful or not. It comes back to our mindset as fans. Chuck some of the shite out the window and just embrace it and enjoy it.
Okay, Steve, your take on the strip and the new sponsorship deal?
I think George is absolutely spot on when he said that it's a throwback to the 60s. I've got one there. You see that one there, folks?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's the 1960-61 season shirt.
Fantastic.
And the similarities is fantastic. That's the Charlie Mitten one that you're talking about, the John McGrath.
That's the shirt I wore.
Season upwards. Yeah. Brings back memories, I'm sure, George.
Well, last season I played that's what I wore, and
exactly.
I think I've said to you on here before. I like it. Neil says he likes the white socks. I don't mind the white socks either, but I tell you what, the socks that went with that strip were murdered away because they had stripes on the top, and they didn't have the technology to do it all in one. So they got the bottom of the sock made, then they made the stripes, and then they stitched the two together. So no matter how you tried, once you folded the sock over, you had this bloody ridge of rubbish around your leg that always left a mark when you came off. But that's the strip, Steve. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it looks fantastic. I like the fact that you've got a little bit of colour there with the yellow, and I can't wait to see the Champions League patch on the other sleeve. I think that's what we're all waiting for, isn't it? You know, you have the Premier League patch, but we'll have the Champions League patch as well, which will look fantastic in the black and white. I think it's a really good shirt. I'm looking forward to seeing if they can produce that for a first team home kit. I wonder what the second and third kits will look like. Equally as good, I'm sure, and equally historic. But great to see. And Mitch is absolutely right. You know, in terms of the sponsor, yeah, we've experienced the Boulevard in Riyadh. If obviously few people will have been, but if anyone's been to the village in Dubai as well, Neil, and seen what they do there, where they got kind of their inspiration, but did it differently. So they can go away, they can look at places, and then they can do something different. Very modern, very striking, very family orientated as well. I think that's the key. So all in all, absolutely delighted. I think the strip looks great, and I think of all the strips we've had over the last few years, I think that's the one that so far I would say I would go out and buy. The others, yeah, either pick them up towards the back end of the season in a sale, just because you want to get your hands on one because you know that it's part of a collection. But never been a one for going out on the first day since way back. But this is a one that potentially I would queue up and pick up tomorrow, because it looks so good.
What do you make of the fan zone idea, Steve? We've talked about it for a long time on here, since the takeover went through, to be honest. And I mean, do you think it's going to be something external or something internal? I mean, externally we see what they do at Wolves. It's just that's utilising some part of the stadium around the ground, and putting on live music and a legend. Is that the kind of thing that we might expect, or do you think it'll be something a little bit different?
I think could quite possibly be something like that. I mean, Manchester City, another ground where they do that, where they have the big staging area outside and have bars and areas to eat. Germany, you go to Germany, and most of the clubs have exactly the same little fan zone, and they also have areas that are specific to certain sections of fans as well, that attract certain groups, which is very, very interesting when you go over there to the continent. I think what they're looking to try and do, possibly, and obviously they're saying in consultation with fans. I don't know what the most fans' expectations will be, because Newcastle is unique, and I'm sure that they've twigged on to the fact that we've got over 100 pubs within less than a square mile of the ground. So there's plenty of places to go and eat. There's plenty of places to entertain yourself before a game, and we all have done traditionally. But it'd be interesting to see how the club hooks on and provides something. I think it'll probably be more family orientated. Mitch mentioned that what we saw in the Boulevard areas, where the kids are taking penalty shootouts and there's little five-a-side games taking place, and there was archery. We had it before the game in Riyadh as well. There was a very, very small family area where you could go in and you could take pot shots, and there was archery and all sorts of weird and wonderful little bits of entertainment. I wouldn't be surprised if they linked up with one of the EA companies, the electronics, and did something with EA games and that type of thing.
Right. Don't we have a Saudi gaming partner?
We do, and if you remember, that was something we talked about, and when we put things forward, 4 years ago, and we said, one of the things that, get into the cafe era in Dubai and in Riyadh, and get the EA games and get the kids. Obviously, we were looking at it from the fact that it was family orientated and no alcohol and that type of thing, and you wanted to bring the youngsters in. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was areas like that. They have that type of thing in the foundation, up in the foundation building where kids go in the evenings and play. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something that give families the opportunity to come in and do that type of stuff in food areas as well. So
how about some falconry, like some sort of mad version of Kess?
Oh, that would be great. Yeah. Can you imagine it? Yeah.
Well, you always come up with something mental, Mitch.
That would resolve the pigeon problem, wouldn't it?
I know where they could get a couple, Neil. I was in Burnside this morning, and they've got a couple of falcons wandering around the school to keep the seagulls away.
Yeah. Seagulls and the Mackens.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. Daniel, the headmaster's talking about having a Michael Carrick strip on the wall with a Borough strip on. I said, if you do that, I'll not come back. Anyway, the fan zone. We could learn something from how the rugby league people use that area now when they have the Magic weekend. Steve's seen it because he's on the food bank. They shut that off and they have tables out on the street just away from the bar and all sorts of things happening in that area, which doesn't happen at the football. Is that right, Steve?
It is, yep.
It's right. They use it much more cleverly than we do for football. But the fan zone, brilliant. If it's anything like the stuff I've seen with Neil in Dubai, for example, that the lads have been talking about, fantastic. It'll only be good. It's the only way to describe it. It'll only be good.
All right, we've as always got a couple of questions coming in for Mitch. Ian says, what's the multi-deal partnership worth in cash and also operations going forward, as I feel the cash in the deal could be trebled in worth with the added value of their services?
You put it this way, I suspect whatever's listed up front as the bottom line cash, trebling it's probably not a bad way to go once you factor other things in. There's absolutely no way we're playing all our cards in public here. Everything's staying close to the chest. We're not discussing the ins and outs of certain financial deals to the nth degree, so everybody knows what we've got to spend every transfer window. So yes, I think the joint operations in the Middle East would double it at least, if not treble it.
And Tom Wilson says, all right, Steve, all right, lads. With Sela, our new main shirt sponsorship, does that open the door for Aramco to sponsor us? I think it's the way it's worded, I guess, it's confusing for people.
That's always been open. Mm-hmm. I think because you're talking about associated companies, and that's the thing that was always the concern, was if PIF wanted to have another PIF-owned company be an associated sponsor, how would that go down with the Premier League? Well, it passed. And Noon passed. And Noon's 50% owned by PIF. So, for all, like I say, it sounds to me like we're gonna get some shit for doing things by the rules, as well as doing things not by the rules. So damn the torpedoes, we'll just go ahead and do what we want.
Yeah, it's a new T-shirt, John Justice Allen.
I think the key to it as well, Mitch, is that the Premier League made this thing about the value and about not pushing too far. And there's no reason why, like you say, you look at the deal, 25 million here, 8 million there. There's no reason why Aramco can't come in and sponsor a training ground or sponsor an area of the stadium itself, and there's no reason why it can't be another 30, 40, 50 million pound a year on deals like that, because again, it's how the deal's structured. And there's no question, as you said, that the leaks came from one end purely, I would say, to justify the Premier League's position in saying, yes, look at that. We've looked at that. We've done our investigation. We're happy with it. And it's very much them covering their own backs in terms of what's been going on in the past. And it's them. It's their way of being out there, showing that they're doing something. That's the way I looked at it. And it's whether it's right or not, it doesn't really matter to us, because as was stated again, I think in the last couple of days, Newcastle United will do it the right way. There was an interview with Jamie Rubin where he actually said that we're going to do it, we're going to play by the rules. But the thing is, I don't think the Premier League even understand what the rules are at the moment.
Well, look at what Arsenal get for the Emirates, for the naming of the stadium. I mean, how they're going to try and knock something back that's nothing near as much as that.
Yeah. Keith says it'll be a good seller.
Very good, Keith.
Not the first person who's done that tonight. And interesting comment here as well from Emmett. He says, I think Sela are involved in WWE shows in Saudi. Says, could we see events such as WWE coming to St James's Park? How about Steve Bruce versus Mike Ashley, lads?
Is there a ring that could handle that?
Might have to be like a sumo.
I was going to say that sumo, that Steve, not WWE. I mean, they're also involved in the boxing. They're involved in all sorts of entertainment over in the Middle East, in the MENA area. So it's the world's your oyster in terms of what Salah might bring. Salah, whatever we want to call them. I think that's another thing that we're gonna probably spend the next 3 months. Where it's going to be Sila, it's going to be Salah. We're going to have all sorts of pronunciations, and we're going to end up having to get one of them on the show and say, what is it really? I think that's what we're going to end up with. We need this bedded down as quick as we can. How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, definitely.
I think the chief executive said Salah on lunchtime.
Did he?
Yeah. Good evening, Keith. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Had the noise turned off.
Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Welcome in. Just a quick one from you, just on the new shirt, first and foremost, and the worst kept secret in Newcastle United terms, the new sponsor that's coming in, the new front of shirt sponsor.
I think it's awesome. I think it's probably nice. It reminds us of the Keegan shirt, but I think it's the best shirt we've had for years. I think it's that nice. I think Sunderland people will buy it. I think it's a gorgeous top. I've been speaking on the quayside, and people down there. There's more. I've never seen as many black and white tops at a non-Newcastle game. You know what I mean? At an event, so everybody seems to go to the concert wearing the shirts, but everybody's talking about this, and on sale at 8 o'clock in the morning. The sponsor that we said it would be, Salah, and it just holds out great. The only thing I don't get is amongst that and the prize money we got for winning the league, and then everything else that's coming in, sponsorships, everything, is this 75 million.
Oh, we're going to come to that. We're going to come to that after the tweet of the week, mate. So you haven't missed that. Don't worry about that. We're going to come to it. But you like the shirt. You're happy with the sponsorship.
It's a nice shirt. It's the best one I think Story's put out. And let's just hope that they can get that together and deliver it this time.
Fantastic. All right. We are 25 minutes in. We've only got an hour and a half tonight. Sam Fender's on. Appreciate most people are either going to that or will be standing at the back door listening to it. So we have now got tweet of the week. And as always, Stephen Kennedy's been busy. He's a bit like a roving reporter in Sunderland for Stephen. Heat wave in Sunderland. Wasn't one in Newcastle, that's for certain. Meanwhile, in Roker. Yes, Stephen. And he says, Sunderland are happy to announce the third reprint of the Stadium Elite's Director of Catering's latest cookery book. Nothing new here. They've been serving up poo at the stadium for years. That's how it got its name. Cooking with poo.
Classic.
And this one from Susan Atkinson. Dear Jeremy Kyle, I'm 16 and pregnant with my boyfriend who is 25 years older than me. He's married with 5 kids. He smokes cannabis and he's an alcoholic. He carries a gun and has just got out of prison for armed robbery. How do I tell my parents he's a Sunderland fan? Cheers, Susan. I've heard so many jokes, says Stephen Kennedy, about the Scallies in Liverpool nicking everything and anything. But in Monk Wearmouth today, well, it seems they're just as bad in Sunderland. With the wheels off the shopping trolley. And Henderson sent me this one on Instagram. He said, my dad said he'd buy a new car every time Spurs won a trophy. And West Ham, of course, in the news for winning the cup this week, but also for a bit of bother on the streets. Never forget this, says Lee. Yeah, that infamous pose from that guy in the pink shirt, DMAO, against Newcastle United back in the day. I think it's just perspective, says Simon. He's closer to the camera than the little fella behind him and much closer than the tiny one in white. David Moyes is massive. Good one, that side. And as for the bottle that hit the Florentina player, James Corden threw it. I saw a lot of people saying that on Twitter.
Get him out.
David De Gea taking the knee 15 seconds after the kickoff in the FA Cup final last weekend. Massive respect.
Very good.
And Sancho runs like he's got his phone in his pocket, said this Manchester United fan. Not very happy, I don't think. Time is absolute, said Isaac Newton. Time is relative, said Albert Einstein. Time wasting will be invented by Eddie Howe's mags in 2022, said Karl Marx. And Elton John bumped into the Manchester City players at the airport. Ed said it was Rocket Mank.
Very good, Ed. Very good.
And the worst carry-on film ever. Carry On Flight Bag. Didn't even have Sid James in it.
Might have been in the bag.
Phil Schofield's been in the news. Anyone noticed? He's broken and ashamed, but he's not a magger, said Phil in his last interview.
Oh, dear.
Tattoo cover-ups. Some horrendous ones. My mate sent me this on WhatsApp. Hi, mate. Hope all is well. My mate got a cover-up with a Toon badge. It's the best thing. Can you share it round, please? That is horrendous.
Yeah, me.
Christ.
Honestly,
Yeah.
Chris, honestly, that is horrendous, mate. This one, Steve Bruce spotted on holiday in Ireland, says Stephen Kennedy. You can't miss his private number plate. Egypt. And when you've lied on your resume about having previous sheepdog experience. Winner of the best business name in Inverness goes to Shiteshifters Waste Management. Septic tank emptying. That is great.
Brilliant.
And here's Dolly Parton's bus. Walking 925.
Oh, very good.
Oh,
Very good.
Happy birthday, Grandma, said this texter. Thank you. You remembered. 69 today. I should be so lucky. Grandad's put his back out.
oh dear me.
And Denny Al Raymond says, I applied the hemorrhoid cream that you gave me this morning. I got a very nasty reaction. Where exactly did you apply it? On the bus. Tweet of the week from Jimmy. Is this a real cold? Is this just allergies?
Oh,
Caught
dear
in a
me.
landslide of a pollen falling off the trees. Open your eyes, look up to the skies and sneeze. I'm out of Kleenex, need antihistamines because my stopped up nose cannot blow. Fever's high, then it's low. Any way the wind blows, it's always full of pollen for me. For me. How was that, lads?
Fantastic,
Impressive.
Steve.
I think maybe Julie will enjoy that when she tunes
Yeah.
in.
My eyes are streaming at that. Dear me.
He also sent this. He said, I don't know what this sign means. And at this point, I'm too afraid to ask.
Right, Anthony.
And I want to wake up with you the rest of my life, said this DM. I get up at 5 a.m., said the woman. Never mind. This one, you need to open your eyes a little bit. What is this actual award for? Yes, I think that's all we need to say.
Yes.
Thank you for that one, though, Jimmy. Either someone smoking pot or it's skunk.
Oh,
Oh,
And another one from Jimmy. My wife and kids are upset because I put ginger in their curry. They love that cat.
God. Have we got SPC onto again?
Yes, Tata Russell. I'm still standing, says Elton John.
Very good. I like that.
And Tories unveil a new election slogan. Jacob Rees-Mogg said, who wants to be cold and poor?
Probably true, aye.
Oh no, our neighbour's died. Hooray. I don't think cheering's appropriate, Karen. And via the lady in Primark who just served me. Yeah, a woman chucked some underwear at a lad that works here when he told her that you can't return pants. Everyone now calls him Tom Jones. This one's been sent many times before, but I don't mind reading it out again. Miguel Delaney is possibly the stupidest man to think he's never wrong. Who then replied, please point out to me where I've been wrong, James. This should be good. Aaron then replies, he's called Dave. So jot that down for one. And another tweet of the week. When you take your daughters fishing in Florida and they catch their first cocaine. In a shocking development, says Ian, statues around the world are now fighting back. That's hilarious. That.
Classic, that.
Sorry, it took us a while to put that one up and I lost it. I'm going to pray like mum. Oh, God, don't stop. Oh, God, Jesus, yes, oh, God. Thanks, Dougie. And breaking news, I can reel tonight, the PIF have bought the Crazy Golf at Sea Houses, Northumberland, for 2 bags of chips in a 99 cone. It will be the new venue for the next Ryder Cup and also the Pro-Am match.
That's where Rory will be playing.
Stephen Kennedy, this was a little bit too close to the bone, but I will read it out. Apologies to anyone that defends. Urgent to all ginger birds. Don't have a Brazilian. It looks like a fish finger. And most relevant, this one was a classic. I actually lent a girl an umbrella yesterday, which takes the total number of girls I've made wet this year to -1. And there's a bounty on his head. Who? The man caught on CCTV stealing 144 bars of chocolate. That's who.
Oh, very good.
And contrary to rumours, Stuart Penman, this is categorically not me. This was when there was a police manhunt for a fat naked man with a small penis. Stu asked Mitch who'd posted his bail. My first day in a drug cartel, says Aaron Shack. Kingpin, where's the coke? Me. Is Pepsi okay? Later, police. This is the most bullet holes we've ever seen in a single body. And top two, excited to see VAR work at Luton Town next season, says Reeve. On-field referee walking into the living room of one of the houses on Kenilworth Road and rewinding the incident on Sky Plus. And the winner of Tweet of the Week this week is this one. Now I know which is front door and which is back door.
Subtle.
Very good. Thanks for all of those tweets. Keep them coming. Zara, as usual, thank you very much for sending your selection. Okay, George. Craig Hope put the cat amongst the pigeons today, and Keith's already referred to it. £75 million budget Newcastle have got to spend this summer. Just put people's minds at rest, lads, will you? George, start with you.
Well, all people need to know is that Craig Hope didn't pass his GCSE maths, because even with half an eye that I've got, when you look at the deals they've already got coming in, all the money for a position in the league, money for other things in terms of playing, money off the shirt sponsor, money off other sponsors, we're already well past £75 million. So how we can write a piece like that, I do not know. It just is ridiculous, and I'm prepared to risk looking silly. But if we spend less than 200 million this window, I'll be very surprised. That's how confident I am.
Yeah, Steve, I mean, 75 million, mate. Honestly, I know we've done this before, but it's, you know, where this kind of thing's been put out, and then Newcastle go and, you know, take it, for instance, Isak. You know, we went and spent 60-odd million pound on Isak in the January transfer window. I don't know. It's just crazy. And of course, it sends, unfortunately, some of the fan base into a complete meltdown. Yeah,
I mean, what we're talking about, £75 million in total. Or we're talking about £75 million when that's your spend for the year, and you've given people 5-year contracts, and you're paying clubs, you know, over 4 or 5 years. So you're paying them on the tick. I mean, I sent a thing to you guys straight away that said, well, that works out for me potentially as 5 players at 75 million, £350 million spread over 5 years. There's your £75 million spent. Because you're not going to hand over the full amount of your transfer money in one go, you know. So you're gonna pay something this year, something next year, something the year after. That's the way that it rolls forward, you know. You're gonna have outgoings as well. You've already got money that's probably owed to you from other football clubs. There's a whole pile, a raft of money coming into the football club. I just don't see Newcastle United in total spending £75 million. I see we're going out and we might spend £25 million on that player this year, and then we might spend another £25 million on it that goes to that fee the following year, another 25 the year after that. That's the 3-year contract. That's the way they amortize it. It to me, it just doesn't sit right. You know, I mean, Craig will have his sources. I'm sure he's been at a meeting somewhere where you know, it's been mentioned and he's asked the question, and that's the response he's got from somebody at the club. But what it actually, when you drill down, that 75 million, what does it get you? What is it? How is it spent? What does it mean? Is it £75 million in one transfer window? And obviously, like I say, you're going to be paying people ad infinitum over the period of the contract. That 4-year contract, that could be a £100 million footballer. £25 million he's going to cost you this year, because you've got another £75 million to spread that fee over the next 4 years. So potentially you could have 3 £100 million footballers coming in. That's your 75 million gone, and they all get 4-year contract. So it's an odd thing to come out with. It certainly will have grabbed the got the column inches. It'll got the hits that they're looking for. But I just think we don't need to worry. I don't think we need to go and concern ourselves. I think what we will be getting is we'll be getting quality, and we'll be paying what we think that player is worth. I mean, I've seen James Maddison this week, everything from 60 million to 35 million. McAllister, we've seen a deal there at Liverpool. They paid 35 million, and apparently it's going to be 55 million, with add-ons and things like that. That nobody really knows how a deal is structured. Different clubs structure deals in different ways. So we just sit back, we enjoy the summer, we'll see who comes in, and we just have faith in Dan Ashworth and the rest of the team in ensuring that who Eddie Howe wants, Eddie Howe gets, and the players that we bring in fit into Eddie Howe's strategy.
Yeah, thanks, but no thanks, Gregory. You can keep him, mate. Keith, £75 million, mate. It's it is just a bit of clickbaiting, I think. Craig may well have his sources, but even he can't believe that Newcastle's only going to spend £75 million in this window.
I mean, if he's got his sources, I think it's HB and Heinz, because it's horseshit. I don't care how good a person's sources are. The question I'd spin around is the other way: is if Newcastle had finished in 10th position, where a lot of people had predicted, they would need to spend more money to climb the table to get towards Champions League. So how much would they have spent if they'd finished 10th? Because they wouldn't have stopped buying. They wouldn't have had the window they did to keep us up, followed by the January window to push on with. And then you get to that place which says, you've got 60 million from your league position coming third. You've got a hell of an opportunity that if you do well in the Champions League, that there's another big payday coming. You've got 10 million of sleeve sponsorships, 25 million of shirt sponsorships. If the rumours are right, people are saying that a lot of the live golf deals were done by Murdad and Amanda, and that they'll be paid in a way that that enhances their investment into the club, so they can invest more in the club and match PIFs. So when you look at what's going on at Newcastle, the only thing you're saying is more and more investment, and quite honestly, PIF wouldn't tolerate 75 million. So I just think it's just a pie in the sky story, and it might be that he's been asked to put that out to, inverted commas, take pressure off the spending. Because what I always find funny is where people say, how much have you got to spend? And any reporter that goes in and says, what's your budget? It's like if you're buying something, if you go into a shop and someone says, oh, what's your budget? It's like an insult to say how much money you've got. And I hate it when people say things like that. They say you go into a shop to buy what you want to buy. But when somebody's saying we're going to spend 75 million after coming fourth in the league and getting into the Champions League, and with the kind of sponsorship that Silverstone's been brought in to deliver, it's just I find it disingenuous, to be fair, to fans, because fans have stuck with it. They've pulled out for a cup final. They've pulled out for look at the attendance at the friendlies at the start of the season. I mean, them friendlies are the kind of gates that a lot of Premier League teams dream about. And when fans are turning up in them numbers, I mean, the concert tonight, a sellout, so that they put a second date on. Everything that goes to the club when the fans have been asked to deliver, the fans have delivered. So I don't believe the figures, and I don't believe PIF would be sat at the table playing with them kind of numbers. It might be difficult. It might be challenges like FFP, but if anybody's going to show you how to dance with the top six or the so-called big six of old, it'll be PIF. They've just gone into golf and they've just paid people kind of money, like drool money, for some of the golfers that weren't in the top 3. They paid for golfers outside the top 3 and paid them the kind of money, like lifetime investment money, money that they haven't brought into football yet. But they did that. They got into golf. They did a deal with the PGA, which wasn't supposed to happen. Nobody could have dreamt that deal would happen. But that's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of what PIF are like. They haven't come here to be second. They've come here to sit at that top table. And you don't sit at the top table when Liverpool spend 50 million on a midfielder, and look what Man City's paying, but people are talking about, look at Chelsea, 600 million spend to come 12. So people need to get real. Newcastle have surpassed Chelsea and made that a mockery of what we spend, what they spend. But now is the time for Newcastle and PIF to deliver back the loyalty and the commitment the fans have given, and I'm sure they will. And I don't think that announcing the numbers any good, but equally, I think it's quite insulting to read something like that. I mean, I read it and just thought, who gets off on making these things up? Because I honestly think it's just a cooked up story. I've seen it up to now. I've seen 75, 100, and 150, and the one thing is certain is none of them know, because no credible organisation tells you what they're going to spend when they're trying to buy players, because you don't want anybody knowing that the size of what you've got. But for me, yes, we might sell players we don't want to sell, but if the likes of Osimhen come up at 110 million, I think Newcastle will be at the table. I think Newcastle know that they need to get. Newcastle need to bridge the gap that they felt this year between Arsenal and Man City. There was a gap between us and Arsenal. And Man United's going to come again this year. Liverpool's going to improve. Chelsea's going to improve. Newcastle aren't joining this. Newcastle are not going to go in there in a budget that might take them out the top 4. Mark my words. That's it. No businessman would do that. Nobody with you don't become the richest sovereign wealth fund in the world and then start, setting up budgets that seems more akin to people joining the Premier League. I mean, you talk about get qualification Champions League, and then you're going to spend a third of what Notts Forest spent last year. It's pure horseshit. I wouldn't rise the bid. Yeah.
I mean, Mitch, it's one of those things. A lot of people are saying Craig's a really good journalist. He usually doesn't. Yeah, he usually doesn't come out with this kind of stuff, Mitch. But some people saying, is he doing it to help the club out? I mean, you're nodding away there, Mitch.
I think he is, and I think there's a mix of all of the above in this. What everybody's just said, I think they're being very, very careful with their words. I think you might find we do spend 75 million
on one player.
In terms of cash down up front, while deals are amortized across the length of the contracts to the players that we spend. Yep. And that 75 million could become 400 very easily. And therefore we have this transfer window only spent 75 million. But actually, we've done deals worth a hell of a lot more. Yep. And I think there's clever words in there. And I think it's to dampen expectations a little bit. It's to put a little barrier up to other clubs who might want to try and have their trousers down. And Craig seems to have become one of the more trusted journalists within the halls of St James's Park. And why not use the people who you see as allies to do you a favour? Does it dampen the expectations of the fan base? No, in fact, in some respects, it probably agitates some of the fan base and starts getting people's knickers in a twist a little bit. I guess that's what we're here to do these days, is to try and help calm the waves a little bit and put a little bit more sensible spin on it and let everybody see where everything is from a different angle. I don't believe we'll just spend 75 million in this transfer window. Not in a million years.
That's rubbish, isn't it?
It is.
It is. It's absolutely. It's political.
Exactly, Keith. But do I think we may put 75 million down in terms of cash on players that we bring in? Right. Yeah, maybe. And so, it depends on you. All of these things are true to quote a Star Wars line from whatever your point of view is. And I think, you know, these are the things which we've got to get savvy as a club, as a fan base. We've got to understand that our owners are getting savvy and savvier as the day goes by and understanding how football works. I think they're discovering that football can be a dirty business sometimes, and that's not always palatable to the Saudi way of doing things. But at the same time, if they learn quickly and they're good at getting it back the other way, then why not do it?
I think your dad's right, Neil. Your dad said earlier at the start, George said, you know, I'll put my neck out and we'll spend 200. I think it's a safe bet. I think George is sitting on the fence, being very confident. And the reason I say that is that's what Notts Forest spent to stay up. So, you know, and they're not by any means, you know, the richest club in the world. So for me, that's you know, I think that's the base level. But I don't think announcing you're going to spend 200 is going to do any good. But you're right, Neil. I think they'll amortise the 75. And when they, you know, I think I don't see them doing a Chelsea and doing 7-year deals, but I think there will be 5-year deals.
5-year deals, yeah.
On some real top players. If you amortise 100 million, you know, you could get a £100 million player like an Osimhen in, and there'll be 20 million a year over 5 years. And if that's out your 75, you've still got 55 to go. Carry on, crack on, but don't forget, Notts Forest spent 200 million to stay up. Newcastle won't be spending 75 million a year. And if they do, I tell you what, I'll sit and eat grass with George on the time mode.
So. The other thing is that the Forest owner is not even the richest Greek in the world. Never mind football owner.
Good point, son.
Yeah, Julie, you missed me singing. I'm very disappointed. You'll have to rewind and listen to it later on. Believe you me, I gave Sam Fender a run for his money. There is
Julie, if he brings a record out, it'll be in the shop that long. The whole will heal
up. Okay. I just want to talk about this, lads. We did speak last week about people getting moved around the ground, etc. We know there's new corporate areas coming in. I think we all agree that you know, it's part of progress that's going to have to take place at Newcastle. Again, it helps the financial side of things. Also makes it a nicer place to come for supporters as well. It has to be said. Michael J said, "What about the new hospitality, the rooftops? £7,000 a person, we're led to believe, perched at the top of the famous Gallagher End, benefiting from one of the greatest atmospheres in British football and a city landscape view." Now, I've not seen anything official about this, lads, and I don't know where these mock-ups have come from, but, you know, look, you know, if this is going to be something that is going to happen at the ground, I've got to be honest, you know, I won't be able to afford that, but it looks nice, and you know, it's the way forward. And Man City have, you know, these kind of rooms, these kind of hospitality suites. And, you know, our hospitality suites, make no bones about it, if you've been in any of them at any time, are substandard. They're 20 years behind everybody else. If, you know, and for me personally, to see Newcastle United finally getting a grip of this kind of thing, it's long overdue. And I'm sure that other bars, the Terrace Bar, I think I saw something about that getting like a bit of a refurb as well over the summer. Well, great. You know, that's what you need to do. It needs to be customer friendly. And whether that's season ticket holders like ourselves going into a room where we'll get better service and it's in a nicer environment, or whether it's people who want to entertain corporate clients and go in it and spend a little bit more money, then great stuff. That's what you need, because ultimately, Newcastle are so far behind. George, what's your view on that? I mean, it's out of our price bracket, George. We might get invited as a guest one day by one of our pals like Keith.
It is at the minute. I haven't good authority. I'm about to win the lottery, so that'll be all right.
Oh, well, that's great, George. Happy days.
You'll all be able to come. No, seriously. I'm like you. I think all of that is putting Newcastle United up on the top and up with the best, where we haven't been, sadly. You know, I hate to say it, but even, dare I say it, 20, 30 years ago, Neil, when we used to go to the other place, the hospitality places at the other place were miles ahead of anything we're seeing at St. James's Park. And that really used to rankle me, you know, the fact that I was there as a guest at one of these functions, and I was looking at something which was better than what my club had. So I'm like you. I want to see all of that happen. I have one plea, whether it's at the Gallagher end or at the Lasers end or any other end. Please, if you're dealing with fans, treat them fairly, treat them with courtesy and kindness. For God's sake, get away from this Ashley, take it or leave it momentum that seems to be in the place occasionally. Let's get rid of that completely, and until I do, it'll cause more harm than good. But I've got no qualms about that. If it's good and people want to use it, I mean, the good example I give is what happened to Neil and my friends. There used to be 10 of us go to the match on a Saturday, right? Before Ashley took over, we used to go and have our lunch in the night by in 92, have the drinks. The lads would have the drinks at half time. They'd come out, would watch the afternoon game on the telly in by in 92, while the lads had yet another drink. They'd have that tea, they'd have a burger or something like that. And we must have spent every Saturday, not hundreds, but £1,000+ between we in that place. And then bang, Ashley came and everything was sent out and financed out, and it just went downhill. And the net result is, one by one, all of our mates just said, well, we'll come back when he's gone. And what we've got left, we've got 2 seats, mine and Neil's, out of the 10. And that simply because people were treated like dirt, and I just hope that whatever they do, I'm for it. Let's go forward. Let's make Newcastle the best it is. And I'm sure that's what PIF want, so that they can bring their friends as well. Let's face it, if they've got a team in the UK that's winning titles and winning leagues, they're going to want to bring people from Saudi Arabia, and that's not going to be done on a shoestring. So let's get it done. But please treat the people that are there now with kindness and courtesy.
Steve?
It looks great. Kevin put up there before, it's between £8,000 and £9,000 a person. I think it's £17,000 plus VAT for the season.
7,000 plus VAT. Aye.
Yeah, and obviously it's aimed at corporates who will get the VAT money back. It's the way things are going. What I would say is that's an area of the ground that's already covered by corporate. It's not an area where fans are going to lose their seats because of. It looks like it's located in what was the old Magpie restaurant years ago, if you remember, in that little corner of the Gallagher end. A lovely area. I've been to a few meetings in there in the past. Sometimes the fans forum would meet there. It's got a great view of the ground. It's almost watching sort of a panoramic view because you're in the corner and it's spread, right the way out. It's not like you're stuck behind a goal or anything. It's a smashing view. The corporates will really enjoy it, and there's no question that the sort of service they're going to get is going to be absolutely top notch, first class. Yes, this is the way things are going to go. But I'm hoping that the club doesn't forget the real supporter, the supporters who have been there through thick and thin. There's a place for everyone as long as we can all fit in. And I don't want us to think that some people are going to lose out because others are gaining an advantage. Areas are being taken away to fit in a different clientele. There's got to be a natural growth at the football club, and I think that's where everybody's now very keen to see what they're going to do in terms of expansion. Because if they can expand the Gallagher end, that'll bring in more normal seats at reasonably priced, but it'll also give them the opportunity to create more of these corporate areas and more corporate boxes, etc. And you're right, Steve. I would say, however, having been down the road a couple of times this season, the ghost of Bob Murray does still lurk in the corridors at the Stadium of Light. It hasn't changed since it was built in 2000. Newcastle has modernised in such a way, and it's chalk and cheese between the two. But as you say, when you go to Man City or Tottenham and you see how corporate has really expanded and exploded, if you like, in terms of the services that are provided. Yes, Newcastle are behind the 8 ball on that particular one, and it's good. It shows that the club's going places, and I think we mentioned it last week. The very fact that this area, the terrace ball that's been extended, that's potentially something that's had to be done to fit in and provide a specific facility for UEFA, because the rules have changed an awful lot since 2003 when we were last in the Champions League. If you want to have Champions League football, then you've got the UEFA are expecting their officials to be looked after in an amazing way, because that's what they've been used to. So it's all changed at St James's Park. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of development work done over the summer for the normal areas, the normal catering areas, whether it's in the Gallowgate, the Leazes, the Milburn Stand, or potentially the East Stand as well, because there's a whole package there that needs to be developed for fans right across the age and right across the price range.
Keith, what's your take on
this? Steve. One of the straps I just caught with me had eyes. Somebody was talking about Tottenham having a Michelin star chef at their stadium.
There it is, Tim Cairns.
Well, the Magpie restaurant that Steve talked about had a Michelin star chef for years until Ashley came.
Yeah.
And then it all went down the pan.
Yeah. I think it was Terry Leyburn that ran that. Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
All right. What's your thoughts on this, Keith? I mean, would you pay that kind of money for a ticket for a part of the ground like that?
No. I think if people don't want to pay that kind of money, I think they've got to accept that kind of money that takes the club where it needs to be. So the average fan, those are numbers, and the fact it's plus VAT, it tells you everything in that statement that it's targeting companies, and they'll get the VAT back, and it's not targeting a person just going on his own. There might be some people high net worth that can afford that, or that's the only way to get in the ground. But I think it'll be people being invited from companies to go to the games to do that. I think that if you look at a show many moons ago, we covered it on NUFC Match, whereby we got figures, accurate figures, and I know Chelsea's average fan spend per game is about £1,800. So for every single fan in the Chelsea ground, the average spend is £1,800. Newcastle's is under 250, and so you're sort of 7 times smaller in that terms, and that's why when they talk about things like how do they spend on FFP, it comes to things like sponsorship. It comes to add the number of fans up times the corporates. So it's a necessary. Like, to someone who can't afford it, it's a necessary evil, you might call it. But to the football club going forward, I welcome it, because that's what's going to need to put us in the leagues of the Real Madrids, the Barcelonas, and the Man Cities. That's the level we've got to get towards. And in monetary terms, if you saw what we bring in for our shirt deals, ground deals, and what we get on a Saturday every week compared to the other people that we've surpassed, and we've completely passed this season, Liverpool and Chelsea, but their figures dwarf ours. And that's why they can go out. And I've heard a rumour that that's what was funny about that thing where they said Craig Hope said we'll spend 75 million. Next article I read was we're still in for Declan Rice. And when you hear about Declan Rice, you hear that Howe's frustrated because the wages. I think Declan Rice, the rumours, whether right or not, is that Bruno's being offered 200,000. That's the package he's been offered, which still puts him way beyond ours. But Declan Rice is supposed to be 3+. People talking about 3 to 350, and you'll only get them kind of players. A lot of people say, "Oh, we should buy him," and people think it's a candy store and you should buy him, her, and him. But the reality is that the wages and things like that has got to be comparable, and this is an area that Newcastle miss out on. We all know they miss out on sponsorships. We've got a very, very poor yield from player sales. So when you look at the players that Chelsea sold, the players that Man City sold, when a player fails at their club, they still get a big return back. In the lesser clubs, lower clubs, when a player fails, you get next to an outback for them. That's the thing. But when you buy in the kind of squad people these are doing, and we need player sales to increase. We need these kind of hospitality areas to grow, and we need sponsorship to increase. And that's when we'll be in a position to keep on increasing our 75 million budget.
Anthony says the Leesers is a Michelin star snack bar. The burgers taste like old tires. Yeah, I want to know how you know what they taste like. Mitch, it's the way of the world, isn't it? And the little rant I had at the start of this little piece here is just, we do need this, like you're stepping back in a time warp in some of these places in the ground.
If we want to compete with the best, we have to compete with the best at all levels, on and off the pitch. It's as simple as that. And raising the corporate income, which is in some clubs a significant chunk of income, particularly places like Tottenham where they've got new build stadia, particularly at Arsenal. Arsenal took an advantage of that before anybody else when the Emirates was built. You look at what they take in on a match day per match day alone, £1 million plus, first club to do that. And corporate income's part of that. These tickets are £7,000 plus VAT, and you have to have a minimum of 4. You can't just buy one. So you're talking significant investment in the club for something that should be premium. And why shouldn't we be able to deliver premium? As a city, we've grown up over the last 30, 40 years, and it's time to showcase that. And we're better to showcase that than at St James's Park. If you look at how the quayside's grown and developed, where once there was, if you wanted to get up to no good there, but the places you go, and now you can't buy an apartment for less than £500,000. There's Michelin star restaurants and there's all sorts going on. That's how grown up as a city we are. And the club should be showcasing that, should be front and centre and showcasing that, the very best of what we can do. It's part of progress. This development, at least, is not going to affect fans or move fans or upset anybody who just want to go to the game with a season ticket. And again, it comes back to the conundrum about what we do with expansion, movement, or what have you within the ground to take the most of the advantage of this. If we are going to be involved at the top seat of European football year in, year out on a regular basis, there's more of this to come, and we have to be showing a Champions League mindset at all levels of the club. And what an absolute uphill battle they've got with what they were left. And so for them to be able to do something like this in such short notice, I think is quite deserves accolades, really. More than anything else, and I'm all for it, because the more we see of it, it means we're doing it on the pitch as well.
Yeah, you know what, guys? You do a quick calculation. You do £8,500 a ticket. There's your 17 grand. You stick 12 tickets in. That's 102 grand. Now, to big corporations, 102 grand investment, where they can entertain high-end corporate guests, is minute in terms of the budget they've got, when they can bring fans and guests to a big game. They can bring them to a Liverpool, a Man City, a Man United, an Arsenal, a Chelsea, a Tottenham, an Inter Milan, a Barcelona, a Madrid. When they can bring clients to games like that for a period of time at Newcastle United, that's what the big companies, and you'll find that those seats will be taken by companies that have also got seats at Arsenal and at Tottenham and at Man United, big corporate clients. That's what they're aiming for. And like I say, 12 seats, that's 3 tables of 4 in an area like that. It's nothing to those corporations, and that's who they're targeting. The money's out there for them, so they might as well go out and get as much as they can. And is the key for me, and you mentioned it again, Mitch, it's not uprooting the normal regular fan. It's something that is there. It's an addition, and there'll be other areas of the ground that where they can accommodate in the future. And I'm sure they're looking at it. We discussed it ourselves. you know, the one of the things I would do is if I was running Newcastle United now, I'd clear all the office staff out of Newcastle United, out of St James's Park, and I would be having a purpose-built office built on top of the car park in the top of the Leazes end there, you know, on the little 2-story car park. I'd have an office block built on top. I'd have all the staff in there, and all that space it gives up would allow you to have more corporate areas and allow you to fill the director's box. That type of thing. That's what will be going on at Newcastle United in the future, because that's where the real money is, and that'll allow us to have our tickets pitched at the right price. That's the other key to what goes on. When those commercial deals come in and they're selling somebody a ticket for $7,000 or $8,000 or $10,000 for a season, that's allowing them to then pitch the prices for the regular fan in the normal areas of the ground at the right level that we can afford. So it's a quid pro quo, it's a balancing act, and hopefully it's going to be done the correct way.
Of course, the side issue for Newcastle United is that some of those corporate partners that have got the money, if they enjoy the experience, might want to be part of it. Might want to invest in the football club as well. So it's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword for me.
Yep, they'll want their names somewhere other than on a door. You know?
Yeah.
Now, Michael, Jesus just put a good number out. As you said there, if you compare Chelsea to 1,800 for the 40-odd thousand fans they've got, and you compare it to Newcastle, it's a difference of 60-odd million a season. It's massive. You know, when you talk about FFP, that's a huge figure. I mean, it's nearly our full budget according to the press.
Yeah, it is. Okay, I've got about 25 minutes left, and it is time to make Keith laugh. So the Beyonce concert the other week, I did happen to mention it. Albert didn't wait to latch on, did he? I'm a single hasty. There he is.
I'll be in touch.
You look quite fetching, Steve. Not as fetching as this, mind. Here's a one for lookalikes on Friday night of Hasty. It looks like it's a two-legged dog.
What is it? What is that?
That is a dog. Ian Sutcliffe sent us this, a white cherry tree Hasty from Japan.
Oh my God.
Oh, dear.
He says Hasty's branched out into flora and fauna now. Excellent.
The imaginations, dear me.
I know. Just being for a pub lunch, Hasty was in the beer garden, the little rascal, says Kaz.
Yeah.
Not the dog.
Even over the table, yeah.
Yeah. Of course it is, Keith, man.
Nature's amazing. Jack McCann says, look alikey, but who could it be?
Yep.
Steve Hasty in the wind. This one, I can't remember who sent it, but they said that has similarities to you. It's actually the well-preserved body of John Shaw Torrington. Steve, well preserved.
Yeah.
Looks like the lion from the bloody Wizard of Oz.
He was mummified, wasn't he? He was frozen. There you read it.
Yeah.
Is that a Hasty look-alike?
It's a Hasty look-alike, yeah. A dead body. It's getting worse. This one was from Jules, a Hasty family reunion.
I must have met my sisters.
And Mr. Hasty in the garden.
Yeah.
Do you want to get this copyrighted, Steve? Dougie Morris is selling these.
Definitely.
And this one, I had no idea Steve Hasty had met the former president.
Yeah. That's Patterson dressed up as me, I think.
Hasty lookalikes from Tom Dixon.
My God almighty. What's the one on the top left?
Honest to God. It gets worse. This one, Chippers, Hasty channeling his inner Pat Butcher.
Oh, God.
God almighty. Steve.
And Chuck Alarma in for good. From German tour.
That does look like you like Steve, that last one. Right?
It doesn't, man.
Well,
Chipper says Hasty on his false teeth.
That looks like his eye.
I'm sure we've had this one before, but we'll put it on again. From
even if you've had it before, you'll put it on again.
Now then, Hasty, says Craig White.
Now then.
Well, that's the one we just had on, isn't it?
Four faces of Hasty, two look-alike.
It's just a cat.
Some great ones, isn't there, this week? So a bit of variety. An alpaca Hasty out for a night stroll. Doesn't he look pretty, says Andrew.
Andrew, how we?
And Andrew Gold says, don't think Steve Hasty liked being filmed here at the top. And then he sent a doubler in. Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger from the movie Twins. Jordan and Liam at the bottom there.
Yeah, class,
And Jimmy Wilson says, Hasty with his birthday cake, 112.
Felt like that this week, I tell you.
And bath time and bite time for Hasty, says Albert.
Jesus.
Oh, that man.
Who puts a dressing gown and towel on a dog like that?
Albert.
Steve Hasty's got a double. He looks like he's passing wind.
Be the judge of that.
Steve in his car from Darren Morgan.
Darren, how are you, man?
And Toon Boy, Saturday Night Hasty.
Yeah, man.
And Sunday Morning Hasty.
Yeah, I can vouch for that one.
And the last one for Steve for this week. Is it me or is Axl Rose turning into Steve Hasty?
No, Steve Hasty's turned Axl Rose, I think.
That's brilliant, isn't it? That is very good.
Hey, they were in Abu Dhabi last week, and I had to do a double take from some of the pictures, you know.
Did you?
Does it look like Hasty?
Aye.
Unbelievable. All right, Tony Mowbray and this dude on Jeremy Kyle. Very good, that, like.
Yeah, that is.
I mean, I know the hair isn't right, but look at the face.
Yeah,
excellent, that. Really
That's what happens when you spend too long on weir side.
Definitely. A couple of Tom Dixon lookalikes here, Dida and Mbappe.
Yeah, I can see that.
Pretty good. Modric and Cruyff.
Yeah, well, never had that before.
That's pretty good, that.
Yeah.
And Kaka and Felix. Excellent, that.
Yes.
3 good ones, Tom. Vote of approval there.
Yeah.
Ten Hag getting his transfer budget off the Glazers. And Stu Penman's finally gone full pink, says Chipper. Oh, I bet you Stu will be raging when he's...
Oh,
Dominic Sabozlai and Fabian Scher.
I hope he lays up next to him.
That is spooky, that.
That's excellent, by the way, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Not the winner this week. This one from Declan Rice and Sinead O'Connor. This one was fantastic. So Michael.
Clever.
God.
A fab. Nothing compares to Stu. He's getting hammered this week.
He is.
And here's Keith from Albert.
Well, that's okay.
Ronnie Cray on the right doing a bit of training at Roker Park for charity.
Aye, dear me.
That's very good.
That is.
And the kid from The Omen and Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
From Rocky. David Beckham and his lookalike. 20 grand to look like that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Wow.
He's now 14 grand in debt.
And
Oh my God.
Ronnie Corbett is adamant and Ronnie Barker has bust a blood vessel.
That's
Very
brilliant.
good.
Brilliant.
Good lookalikes. The winner this week, Russell Crowe and Roy Keane from Toonloon. Cheers, Daz. Keep them lookalikes coming. Always love them, especially
Very
the dogs and other animals. BT earlier just says, with wage demands also said to be excessive and beyond what Newcastle are willing to pay, should we in particular be looking at players who've seen their clubs relegated this season, Mitch?
No, because if you buy 2 players that have been relegated, you end up with a squad full of players who've been relegated and you get relegated. It's as simple as that. I think there are bargains to be had there potentially, but if that's all the shopping would do, I'll be concerned, because they've proved that they're not enough as a group to stay in the Premier League. Although I think there was some curious things going on at Leicester, who played like a team who never believed they were really in trouble when they were. Southampton proved they could fight, but only when it was way too late. And again, in Leeds, where Leeds were just a mess most of the season on and off the pitch, and so you the one relegated player I look at, if it's true that Rodrigo at Leeds has got a release clause of relegation at 3 million, we'd be daft not to trigger that. In my opinion, I think that's an absolute punt I'd take all day long, because I've seen enough of the kid that when he was fit, he looked dangerous and he looked like he knew where the back of the net was.
Yeah.
And at £3 million, you'll not get value like that anywhere else, if that's true that he's got that in his contract. But other than that, some of them not really convinced about. It looks like Southampton are wanting silly money for Ward Prowse. The young lad Lavia there looked like he could be a handful and had the right kind of engine that I liked. Leicester will talk about their players. The one of their players I actually like is Barnes rather than Maddison personally, because I think there's more potential to develop him. But I think we get very obsessed about looking at relegated players, and yes, there might be some value there, but if you buy too many of them, you end up with a team full of players who've been relegated from the Premier League, and that doesn't bode well.
Breaking news from Neil Calvert there as well. He says, it's breaking news on Sky. PSG president is the man behind Man United takeover. He's also in charge of Qatar's sports group. Mitch, give yourself a pat on the back for telling us weeks ago he was a fraud.
Mate, there was something stunk about the whole thing in the last move this week of saying, this is our final, last ever, cross me heart, hope to die, never tell another lie, bid. And if we don't hear anything back by Friday, we're out, is their way of getting out of the situation with their head held high, in their opinion. Now, we did the best we could to make this happen, and they didn't want to engage with us, so we have walked away from the table, and they saved their own little face from that. 9-2 Foundation was always an invention. You can look at how it was when it was first mentioned, when the special purchase vehicle was incorporated. Look at the names on that special purchase vehicle. If they don't make you shudder from a football perspective or political perspective, they should. And that there was always more to this than met the eye. It had been Zayed Group Fields all over it, and then some. It was just BZJ on steroids. And if it is true that he's been involved in the negotiations this week, that then quite rightly other clubs are saying, right, where's this money really coming from, and what the hell is going on? It always felt like a stalking horse bid that suited Qatar to run with, because they would get information, and the information they would get is, what's the difficult questions we're going to be asked, and when are they going to be asked in the process? Bearing in mind they've got nowhere near a fit and proper persons or a director's test yet. This is all on the basis of different pieces of information that they've been able to hand over, that anybody could hand over if you had the right connections and the right ability to do so. And therefore, at best, it was always a stalking horse bid, encouraged by Rain to make Ratcliffe up his bid, because he was the preferred bidder, that would keep everybody happy. However, it turns out it probably won't keep the Man United fans happy.
Well, while a football club in Paris are in turmoil, it deflects an awful lot away from what's happening there and throws an awful lot of shade at Man United, who, let's face it, are what they would consider their only real competitor. That's the other added little thing.
Yeah.
With Man United now back in the Champions League, so I think there's politics at play there, Mitch. Football politics. I think there's an awful lot, as you say, that going on that meets the eye, and I think now, let's face it, the Man United deal, now that this has come out, is probably going to carry on for another 4, 5, or 6 months, and that's just going to disrupt and upset the Man United fans who don't want Radcliffe, because they don't want the Glazers to be part of anything. And it looks like the Radcliffe deal is only 51% and still allows the Glazer family in its entirety to remain. And there's a question mark about their B shares as well. So it's a walking disaster area, but I think it's all been planned this way by certain people.
Agreed.
Okay. Question about aforementioned contract roll-ons. How does it affect the next window's available amounts, Keith? One for you, mate.
If you get a contract here on an Osserman and you paid 20 million per year, that would roll on. And people might say, well, if you get in Neil's calculation, suppose you got 5 players a year amortized over the 5 years, you could have 100 million one that would take 20 million per year. You could have a 75 million that would take 15, and so on. So the question the guy's asking is the obvious one: is if you buy them players, what happens next year? Yes, 75 million does come out of your allowance next year, but by next year you'll have greater revenues, greater sponsorships, greater money, greater turnovers, all this corporate money coming in. So your budget, if 75 was ever you figure, if there was any ever truth in that, you figure next year will be 150. So you'd have them signings again for the next year. So don't worry about it. I mean, the main thing is in an ordinary football fan's brain words, what we're going to spend this year. Just remember, not for us to spend 200 to stay up. And so put that in perspective. You can safely assume Newcastle will spend more than that this year, and they'll spend more than that next year and the year after and the after. It'll rise rather than fall or rather than be checked.
Okay. Black socks make you look sluggish when running. White socks the opposite, says Trapper Miguel, just talking about the strips. Fabrizio Romano reporting that Sheikh Jassim bid has been accepted. Don't believe everything you read on Twitter is my advice, Paul. Leave the Glazers in charge. Seems to be the feeling amongst everybody on our platform today. Anyway, okay, we've got 7 or 8 minutes left of the show. I'm going to get the lads' predictions for the Champions League final in a moment, but I do want to play that lovely music. The day I met, where we ask you to send in photographs of you meeting different people from Newcastle United's past or present, and a wonderful photo from Andy Embleton, one of our regulars and a regular in the bars, pre-match and post-match. The day I met, hi Steve, hope you're well. I met the one and only Amanda Stavely on the train north. What a lovely lady. And a lovely photo, Andy. Thanks for your support, mate. Good luck winning the raffle next season, mate, is what I've got to say. If you've got a photograph of you meeting anybody who's remotely connected with Newcastle United, then send them in to me and I'll feature you on the show. Okay, George, Champions League final tomorrow night, and it's a big chance for Manchester City to clinch a treble, become the second team to do it, following in the footsteps of their neighbours, Manchester United. So, George, what's your view? What's your prediction for tomorrow? Can Manchester City do it?
It'll be an interesting game when you've got a team like Milan, who's skilled at defending, is the best way to describe them, and attacking on the break. And you've got an all-out football team like Manchester City. I'm hoping for an excellent football game. But I still think at the end of the day, City will just have too much for them and win 2-1.
Yeah. John says KP must be sponsored by Castoria for this fashion show. I tell you what, when I was playing the music for the day I met, I saw something I didn't want to see, mate, honestly. Steve, your prediction for tomorrow night's game?
You know, I think City have got too much for them. I think you know, I watched Milan when they're in the semi-final, and I thought they played okay, but I thought City were just outstanding in their semi-final, and I can't see that being any different. Again, you watched them in the cup last week. You know, I mean, fastest goal ever in the cup final. Steamrolled Man United. I think they're just far too strong. I know that, you know, if you're a Milan fan, an Inter fan, sorry, you shouldn't call them Milan. If you're an Internazionale fan, then you're hoping that Dzeko can do the business. You're hoping that you can get exactly the same out of Lukaku and Mkhitaryan and people like that. But I think City have just got too much for them. I really do. I think that right across the pitch, and no matter what style of football City want to play, how he lays them out, you know that there's going to be a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3 from the opposition, and City are just so flexible with this crazy formation that Guardiola's putting out at the moment. It's so fluid. The players are just so confident and so aware of it. And I can only see this going one way, and I think we'll end up very similar to the cup final. I think it'll be 3-1, Man City.
Okay, Keith.
I think you just got too much for them. I think got too many good players, and you expect it all to come from Haaland, but it's come from other players. Grealish has become a player. Gundogan and them are just playing out the skins. I think it'll be. I think there's a goal in Milan. I think they've got some proper players. I think Man City will concede, but seriously, I think it'll be 4-1. And I think for a Champions League final, that's a bizarre score. Really, you never expect it to be that wide open, but I genuinely think it'll be 4-1. And I've my knocks on my door because I'm in Newcastle hotel to go and see Sam Fender. So I've been told I've got to get out the room quick. So now
I'm okay, Keith. Take care. Enjoy the gig, mate.
Take care, everybody. Take care.
Enjoy it.
Bye.
All right, Mitch.
I think we'll see the most one-sided Champions League final we've seen for a long time. If you rattle off the list of players that were just named before, Dzeko was Man City's answer 3 years ago. And I think if Man City get off to the start that they got off to in the cup final against Man United, I think you could see the most one-sided Champions League final you've seen in a long, long time. I think they have the ability, the desire, and the will to absolutely smash in there. And I don't say that lightly. I think they've got everything is come together for them beautifully. The way the draw worked out, the two Milan teams facing each other in the other semi-final, both have been relatively ordinary this season, in terms of what you would have in your mind's eye think in Milan. And it's why I look at us going into the Champions League next season and think, well, do you know what? We've got nothing to lose and nothing to fear, and because we've proved we can go toe to toe with Man City. We've done it. Yeah. One of the few teams that has, and so I think it has that potential. The one thing in to have is experience in droves over the top of Man City. So they may be able to lock it down and make it a tight game if they can keep it tight for the first 20 minutes. But I just can't see past City. I think what they do in terms of formation, in terms of creativity, I think should be able to see Inter off very comfortably, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think prediction from the Mitch, what do you reckon?
4-0 Man City.
All right. I think, Benny, you're right. He says, unless Pep overthinks it and makes some weird tactical change for the final, as he has been prone to do before. Yeah, this is a final he really wants to win with Manchester City. I'm gonna go 3-2. I think there'll be some goals in it. So I'm gonna go 3-2, but I do think Manchester City will win. Okay, as always, we finish off with this. Now, not what you would expect. NUFC Corner, the professionals. Vomit. Are you deluded wannabe still churning out this and trying to be relevant? Embarrassing. Yes, not just me, Mitch. Not just me.
No.
That's like a coming of age kind of tweet, that, isn't it?
Yeah. Needless to say, he's blocked. And then
blocked times 4.
Block times 4, yes, 100%. Great show. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you're going to the Sam Fender gig, enjoy yourselves and just have a great weekend. Let's hope we'll get a bit of sunshine. But we will be back tomorrow morning, 9:30. George, are you free at 9:30 in the morning to join me and Stu for the professionals?
No, I'm not actually. I'm getting picked up in the morning to go out, unfortunately.
Wait, George, you can't have a social life when you're doing podcasts, mate.
No, I know, but Shelley, my friend Shelley's coming to take us out for my breakfast in the morning. So.
Okay, we don't need to know anymore, George. We'll move on swiftly. Me and Stu will be back for a good old chat in the morning, 9:30. And then on a Sunday, we have Lee Clark. You asked for players coming back onto the channel through the summer, where me and Lee Clark will be chewing the fat on Sunday. So you've got something to look forward to. Set a reminder for that one and make sure, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. But for now, have a great weekend, guys. Take care.
Cheers, everyone.
Night, everybody. Ta-da.
We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email john@nufcmatters.com to arrange today.